Okay, so what if Dante's 9 circles of hell weren't just some theological allegory, but actually a perfectly preserved microbial cave ecosystem? Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to look at a classic piece of literature through the completely unexpected lens of modern biology and physics. So, in this Explainer, we're going to hit a few key areas: the architecture of hell, the science of the soul, upper hell's atmospheric chaos, lower hell's subterranean stasis, and finally, the deep freeze of treachery. Let's merge some 14th century literature with cutting-edge science. Starting with Section 1, the architecture of hell, basically a giant subterranean trap. Traditionally, we think of the theological view, right? Immaterial souls being punished by divine justice in fiery pits. But the biophysical view flips this entirely. We're going to impartially look at what happens if these souls are actually entrained bioaerosols, living biological data that have just been preserved in incredibly stable subterranean microclimates. To really wrap our heads around this, we gotta define the aerobiome. It's basically this invisible cloud of millions of microbes, fungi, and viruses that every single one of us is constantly shedding into the air. And then there are these informational ghosts. This is when that microbial cloud gets phase-locked or entrained with your cognitive and emotional frequencies. Just imagine someone exhaling a cloud of vibrating microbe ghosts. The whole idea here is that a spirit might literally just be the informational content carried in an individual's quantum vibrational field, permanently imprinted onto the air around them. Moving on to Section 2, the science of the soul, or exactly how you build a ghost. There is actually a strict physical mechanism to creating one of these. It's a literal progression. First, a silent thought is encrypted into an electromagnetic wave through subvocalization. Next, it gets amplified by your heart, which generates a bioelectromagnetic field thousands of times stronger than your brain. Then, that massive cardiac field entrains the cell membranes of the microbe sitting in your lungs. And finally, you exhale it right into the environment. You aren't just breathing out carbon dioxide, you're literally exhaling a physical record of your state of mind. And get this is happening all the time. You are actively shedding around 37 million bacterial cells every single hour. 37 million. That means every hour, tens of millions of tiny biological hard drives, completely formatted by your current emotional state, are released into the world around you. When you think about our cellular makeup, it's pretty wild. The human holobiont is made up of about 30 trillion host cells, but we've got 39 trillion bacterial cells. We are basically more microbe than human. And since we're essentially walking ecosystems, the bioaerosols we breathe out are intimately tied to our internal energetic state. So how could a living, breathing guy like Dante actually perceive these invisible clouds? The answer is magnetite. It's a compound found right inside the human brain that acts like a biological receiver, decoding weak external electromagnetic fields into actual neuronal action potentials. So when Dante wanders into these caves, the magnetite in his head is basically acting as an antenna. It allows him to literally hear and feel the localized microbial ghosts. His brain is translating the electromagnetic data of the cave's aerobiome into a real sensory experience. All right, Section 3, Upper Hell and its atmospheric chaos. If you remember from the poem, Dante's upper circles are completely unstable. You've got violent, buffeting winds for the lustful in Circle 2, icy rain and slush for the gluttonous in Circle 3, crashing heavy weights in Circle 4, and the muddy, boiling river Styx in Circle 5. Biophysically speaking, these are just chaotic thermal plumes and volatile weather systems. They violently disperse the microbial spirits exactly like turbulent weather scatters a physical storm cloud. The biological data up here is fragmented, incredibly noisy, and just completely unstable. Because of all this massive environmental noise, Dante's nervous system absolutely redlines. He famously writes, "I fainted, as if I had met my death, and then I fell as a dead body falls." Well, biophysically, this maps perfectly to what happens when a human is exposed to extreme localized magnetic fields and infrasound below 20 Hz. When the human body hits those chaotic, low-frequency electromagnetic fields, it causes severe vertigo, massive spikes in cortisol, and just a crushing sense of dread. Dante wasn't just emotionally overwhelmed. His physical, biological receivers were literally short-circuiting. Which brings us to Section 4, Lower Hell and Subterranean Stasis. As we descend deeper into the city of Death, the environments get vastly more structured. And this is brilliant because Dante's narrative descent perfectly maps to the actual scientific principles of taphonomy and preservation. The chaotic winds of upper hell give way to the fluid dynamics of middle hell, which eventually solidify into the perfect cryopreservation of lower hell. Basically, the deeper you go, the significantly better the conditions become for preserving that delicate microbial data. It is honestly mind-blowing to put this into historical context. It took over 7 centuries for modern science to catch up with the Aerobiome phenomena that Dante was metaphorically documenting. I mean, Dante writes this journey in 1300. By 1553, you have theologians like Servetus starting to equate the spirit with physical breath. But it actually wasn't until 2016 that modern science fully mapped the sheer complexity of the human microbial holobiont. Now, down in lower hell, these entrained bioaerosols are trapped in highly specific, incredibly stable microclimates. You have the flaming crypts of Circle 6, the boiling blood and gnarled bleeding trees in Circle 7, and the 10-deep isolated stone trenches of Malleable G in Circle 8. Unlike those windy upper levels, these deep stone trenches act as perfect physical traps. They shield the microscopic data from ultraviolet radiation and wind dispersal, meticulously preserving their informational signatures for hundreds of years. But as we approach the very bottom, we hit a massive paradigm shift. And it brings up a crucial question that completely upends our traditional view of the underworld. If hell is famously associated with intense heat, magma, and fire, why in the world does Dante describe the absolute lowest circle as a lake of solid ice? That brings us to Section 5, the deep freeze of Treachery and Cocytus. We finally hit the 9th circle, the ultimate frozen wasteland reserved for history's worst traitors. Down here, the figures are fully encapsulated and frozen solid in ice. They're completely immobile, with tears literally freezing instantly in their eye sockets. From a biophysical standpoint, this makes absolute perfect sense. To permanently preserve the most intense, low-entropy electromagnetic fields, which are the ultimate informational proxies of betrayal and malice, you need absolute biophysical stasis. Heat means kinetic energy and degradation. Ice means perfect, unbroken data storage. Dante wrote that as they denied all human ties, they are bound only by the unyielding ice. What he perceived as divine poetic justice is actually the ultimate scientific state of taphonomic cryopreservation. It permanently halts all entropic decay. By completely severing the warmth of human connection, these figures generated emotional states so severe that their corresponding electromagnetic data required a literal zero-point freeze just to remain intact within the Earth's informational field. It leaves us with such a fascinating thought about the unseen air we breathe and the energetic microbial legacy we're leaving behind in our own aerobiomes every single day. Your thoughts aren't just trapped inside your skull, they are actively shaping the physical atmosphere around you, right now. So I have to ask you, if our bodies are essentially just receivers in a massive informational landscape, what kind of ghosts are you exhaling into the world today?